Sensory Museum. So if you are parked across the street, please move your vehicle. We will begin in about 2 minutes. So please start making your way to tables, and we will be very scrunched. Please make sure you make the best use of your table space and do not leave empty spots.
Good morning. Good morning. If you could please make your way to the tables, we're going to get started in the next couple minutes. So grab your last-minute coffee and have a seat, please. Thank you. can introduce her. That's fine.
Do we have a blurb on her? I don't know her background.
Then I'll go.
I'm going to invite the lived experience panelist up to the table so that we can have a seamless transition after we do our introductions.
Good morning. I'm going to go ahead and kick us off this morning.
Ask everybody to sit down first.
If everyone could please find their seats.
Hold on. And we're going to have to get comfortable with the uncomfortable of sitting next to people we might not know. It's all about networking and making new friends, right? We are at capacity, and so we will need to take advantage of every open chair that is available.
Well, that's you. So as they're starting, I'm just going to walk through the stitches.
Okay, then I'll move up, I guess.
You'll move and stand right
That's
here.
what I thought. I found 5 water bottles and 4 mugs, and I think that
Yeah,
seems like
you
the
get
plan.
this one.
Thank you.
Pleasure
How
to
are
see
you
as
doing
always.
this morning?
It's great to be back.
We're so excited to have you.
I'm so excited.
We're doubled in size this year.
Oh, no. We are quadrupled because we
Wow.
and I just confirmed we're over 600 people.
Wow.
Well, that's between in-person and virtual.
That's incredible.
Yes. Laura needs to get up here.
And I
Get
love
up.
that every year you have someone that I know that I'm friends with as one of your other speakers. Who? Carrie.
Oh, good. I guess I need.
And we all kind of cross paths.
Yeah.
The last conference we went to was in Disney.
I haven't seen him. Oh, he's back there.
I haven't seen him yet. I just sent him a text because the last time I saw him, we went to
But
Disney.
he's back there.
And I have. So there's some here that if you have time to.
Oh, I'll sign everything.
Okay, perfect.
All right.
I'll sign it all during the break. Just let me know.
Yes.
All right, good morning, everyone. Welcome. We can go to the beginning of the slide deck there. So good morning. My name is Amy Julian. I'm the director for the Illinois Center for Specialized Professional Support here at Illinois State University. And first and foremost, welcome to ISU. We are excited to have you all with us today. We are having an exciting conference planned for you, and we were just talking that we have quadrupled in size since last year. So if you were with us last year or the year before, you're looking around seeing a lot more friendly faces in the room. So thank you all for taking time out of your very busy schedules to join us today. A couple things we want to walk through with some housekeeping as we start off this morning. You have an agenda in your packet, so if we'll look at that. Wi-Fi access. I know many of you are wanting Wi-Fi access. That is up there. You'll do the guest IL.
Can you, here, let me fill him in a little bit. It's a little tricky to get onto ISU's interweb. So what you'll need to do is when you select what network to connect to, you'll go to ISU Start Here. And once you get to ISU Start Here, then you're going to open up a browser. It may reroute you to Illinois State. It may not. What you would, to speed the process, you can go to guestnet.illstu.edu. Yeah, you might want to snap a photo of that because it will go away in a moment. And then you'll want to select the little button. It's not that easy to discriminate, but it will say request a guest wireless account. It will ask you for your first name and last name, I believe, and your cell phone number. And then it will text you your username, which is typically your cell phone number, and a password. And that should give you access for the day. If you have problems, reach out to a member at your table, and hopefully they can support you.
Or visit the check-in, and we'll be able to support you there as well. Next up, sign in. Many of you are looking for CEUs and CPDUs. If you'll sign in, this same QR code is on your table. So if you would like to sign in, there will also be an opportunity at the end of the day to sign out, and that'll be a different QR code. So,
Everyone needs to sign in.
and everyone needs to sign in,
This is how the
including those online and those in person. So those of you who are sitting in the room with us today, just also know that there is a good number of individuals online with us as well. This conference is put together in a coordinated combination between the Autism Professional Learning and Universal Support, the A+ project, Autism McLean, Chuck's over in the corner, and then the Autism Training and Technical Assistance Project, which is at the Illinois Center for Specialized Professional Support. We are very lucky to have our funding come from the Illinois State Board of Education, and with us today is our representative, Laura Avery. And what's your? Avery Glover. She just got married, guys, so Laura Avery Glover is with us today, and she'll be bringing greetings in just a minute. And so, a little bit about my project, and then I'm going to hand the floor over. So we are the Autism Training and Technical Assistance Project. You'll see our booth out front, and we are very excited to be part of this conference. We have been for the last 3 years, and again, it's a fantastic conference to really learn from not only each other, but from best practices from around not only the state, but the country. We have put together a fantastic agenda for you today. We have Hallie Moss here with us. She's going to be facilitating our lived experience panel, our parent panel, and then also she'll have a couple breakout sessions for you to enjoy. We also have some other individuals with us and experts from around the state. Nikki will talk more about those. I'm feeling crunched for time because we're a little behind schedule. The Autism Training and Technical Assistance Project really looks at a niche time within the spectrum, within the period when someone is experiencing autism. And so we're looking at where you are going from post-secondary into work, or post-secondary into secondary into post-secondary, secondary into the workforce. I'm stumbling up here, guys. So thank you very much for attending. I'm going to hand it off to Laura.
Good morning. I am delighted to be here today, and I am delighted at how much this conference has grown. I have been at each of the conferences the last couple of years, and every year it gets better. It is wonderful to see the fruits of the funding turn over. My job at ISB is to kind of oversee several of our technical assistance and professional development projects, so including both of our autism projects, but also the specific learning disabilities support project and the behavior assessment and training project. My role here really is to be networking with you and finding out the needs at a local level as far as professional development. And so you might find me sitting down at a table with you at lunch or talking to you in between sessions just to kind of hear from the field about the biggest issues that are happening in the classroom, in the school, and in the district. And then kind of what the needs are as far as how the state can support you. So again, I am delighted to be here, and I am so pleased at each and every one of you that is here and participating today. Thank you.
Good morning and welcome, everyone. Glad you could make it this morning. My name is Chuck Hartzell, and I'm the treasurer for Autism McLean, which is a local, all-volunteer, non-for-profit that has been in existence since 2003. Many of you have already stopped by to pick up our little book of resources, which is our 5th edition that we put out for services that are available within McLean County, and we offer programming at times we have a bowling league that we do. This month we're celebrating April Awareness Month, and on our Constitution Trail we have hung bird houses. So we just attempt to provide opportunities and resources for parents and individuals living with autism. So thank you very much for coming. Appreciate it.
And the Autism Professional Learning and Universal Supports Project. How many of you in the room are affiliated with our project through our coaching, through our online learning modules? Give yourselves a big wave up. Beautiful. Thank you for coming. Our grant was put in place in response to the Quiet Room article series, which highlighted the frequent, oftentimes inappropriate, and what we now like to consider improper use of timeout and restraint that was occurring in Illinois schools with students with autism. It happens with more than just students with autism. But that was where our funding was initiated back in March of 2020, and we have grown to be a statewide technical assistance project that offers coaching and professional development across the state. So we have our QR code to get you to our website where you can access that professional development and ask for more information about our coaching and other resources that we do have available. As you all may have noticed, we did receive an increase in prevalence rate about 2 weeks ago. 1 in 31 individuals are now diagnosed with autism. There are 4 times as many boys as females. However, we don't know that that is actually an accurate number because females are so well at masking their behaviors. And we're excited that we will have a session today, a breakout session, that focuses on masking behaviors. When we take a look at our data in our state, this is last year's data. 36,980 individuals received services underneath that eligibility of autism spectrum disorder. We have seen estimates of what the next year's data, or actually the current year's school data is, and it goes over 37,000. So we are seeing more students in our school system receiving services. We also know that we're not just better at diagnosing, because if we were, we would start seeing some of those other eligibility areas decreasing as we relabel students. So we are seeing better diagnostics. So more students are being able to go through the diagnostic process and receive an autism diagnosis, but we're also seeing more individuals. CEUs. As Amy first mentioned, if you are getting CPDUs, we need you to check in using the QR code that is on your table. You'll need to sign in with that and sign out at the end of the day. Everyone needs to do the sign in and sign out. That is how you will get the follow-up feedback survey from us, as well as your CPDU or CEU forms. If you are here for ASHA CEUs, you need to see Peg. Peg, can you stand up at the back of the room? Go check in with her, and she will get you all of the things that you need to do. If you are a BCBA and you are seeking BCBA CEUs, when you check into your breakout session and the keynote, we will have a QR code that you do have to scan in and scan out. If you have any questions, ask someone at the registration table and we can get you more information. And we have a few details to highlight our day. First of all, we have an awesome photo booth and we have some hashtags. So we will have some students out there helping us. They can be your selfie takers. So hop out to that photo booth and tag yourself with TAC, the Autism Conference, or hashtag the Autism Conference. And we can't wait to look at all of those. In your swag bag, you have a paper agenda. You will notice throughout the venue there will be posters of that agenda in case you misplace your agenda. We also will have greeters across the concourse that can help direct you to different locations. In your packet, you also have a map. We hope that this helps you navigate the Bone Student Center. How many of you are ISU alums? How many of you have been here since the Bone Student Center got a little makeover? It's beautiful, isn't it? So some of the breakout sessions are on the main concourse. Some of them are on the second floor. That map will help direct you to where you need to go. You also have a passport. We are very excited. We have about 34, 35 exhibitors with us today. They are in the back of the room and they are in the concourse. Go to each exhibitor, have them initial it, and then at the afternoon break, which is between 2:15 and 2:45, where the food tables are, those are going to be the passport collection tables. Once your passport is full, put it in the passport collection area and you will be handed raffle tickets. At the end of the day, at our closing session at 3:45, you will be eligible to win one of these fantastic raffle baskets that our exhibitors pulled together and donated. And there's some pretty cool stuff in there, so make sure you get those initialed. We are also collaborating with That Kid Place. Has anybody seen That Kid Place before? It's a sensory museum. Race, Dad built it. So it will be hopefully parked. We're having some issues with parking. Again, if you are parked across the street in the meters, please move your vehicle. But we will have that space reserved for the Sensory Museum. It is fantastic. We invite you to go check it out, navigate through it, There's some tunnels you might climb in, play with all of the sensory things. It's really awesome, and we hope that you can experience it. Everyone, in your registration badge, in the back of it, you have a parking pass. That is what you need to hand the parking attendant when you leave so that your parking is validated. That gets you free parking for the day so you don't have to pay $6 or $8. If you have any food allergies, you will notice on the table they will have little cue cards as to what the dietary restrictions are. If you are gluten-free, you have a gluten-free ticket. When you are in line, you can hand that to the food attendant, and they will bring you a gluten-free lunch option, or not lunch, dessert option. Restrooms are all around the concourse, as well as water filling stations. We will have a beverage table on the corner that will have water in here all day. There are lactation stations. If you would need to use one, please check with the registration table, and they will get you to where you need to go. And then we will also have greeters, as well as some signage with arrows that indicates where you need to go for the upstairs and downstairs breakout sessions. So if you aren't familiar with where you need to go to get to Prairie 2 or Prairie 3, find one of those greeters and they will help get you there. And with that, we are going to begin with our lived experience panel, and we have Haley Moss, and Amy's going to do a quick introduction, and then we have a fun little video to watch.
Good morning again. I'm very excited to have Haley Moss with us today. She is an autistic lawyer, educator, and neurodiversity advocate who is passionate about empowering other neurodivergent people in educating the public and to create more inclusive, accepting societies. She has a new book out, which is Talking the Talk About Autism. We have several copies of this available, so there's some in the gift basket, so that's another reason to stay. You can win the book, and then there'll be a couple available as well. So with that, we have a video, and then Haley will lead the lived experience panel. Thank you.
I want to see a world where people with disabilities achieving things is a norm rather than an exception. That it isn't a surprise to somebody to see a person on the autism spectrum practicing law or doing something amazing out there. I don't want that to be the exception. It should be normal. It should be part of our everyday life.
Haley was about 2 or 3, not verbal, just not hitting the milestones that normal children hit at certain age points, but she was doing things that were extraordinary, puzzles of 100 pieces, 200 pieces.
Unlike other friends of ours who would go out to dinner with their children, Haley was untakeable. She would scream everywhere we went, and that was her form of early communication. We went to the doctor. He used the word autistic. Didn't even know what it meant back then. He started explaining to me and said I would be lucky if my daughter would hold a minimum wage job. She would never have any friends. And it was really doom and gloom. From the minute my daughter was diagnosed, society and friends and family at times closed the door.
Generally the fear was that
It was
their
contagious.
children would either, you say contagious, pick up the habits and then regress and then become autistic. It was just mind-blowing.
Haley wasn't invited to birthday parties. I mean, you name it, we had many doors and many obstacles. There are
Barriers.
barriers.
I was 9 years old when my parents first sat me down to talk about autism with me. And at the time, I was obsessed with Harry Potter. So they explained to me that, like Harry Potter, I had magical powers. Harry Potter was different from the muggles he lived with, but it wasn't bad that he was different from everybody else. It was what made Harry extraordinary, and he had magic in him, and I was raised to believe that autism was part of this magic in me, and being autistic was something to celebrate. It was a good thing that we focused on the strengths rather than the weaknesses. I was a quiet kid, but I had my interests. Elementary school, I think, was fun. I mean, I did well in school. I had a couple of friends. I was friends with most of the boys, actually, because I had more in common with them. And I felt their social cues were a little bit easier to read. So when I was in elementary school, I played a lot of video games. I traded Yu-Gi-Oh! And Pokemon cards with my friends. And it was a lot simpler because it's a time when, friendships are made a lot quicker than the nuances that we see when you get to middle school, high school, and adulthood. People try to set the limits on what I can and can't do. The problem with limits is that other people are setting them for us. So often it's a doctor, a parent, some other neurotypical person telling us what we can and can't do. Limits are healthy. Limits are not a bad thing, but it should be someone like me setting my own limits. It should be, I can set the limits on myself, not somebody else telling me what I can and can't do.
Good morning, everyone. It is an honor to be here and address you today. After 3 years, today is our last day together as Miami Law. I am excited to see what you will do next. Congratulations, class of 2018. We did it!
Other people do try to write our narratives, but at the same time, we are the experts on ourselves. I can tell you why certain things are hard for me better than anybody else, more than a professional who studies autism or even parents. I can be the one who explains why a sensory overload is too much. A parent might say, okay, we know that jazz music might be too loud for this person, and I could say, it's the saxophone that really gets me every single time. So often with autism and the conversation surrounding it, we hear a lot from parents and professionals. We don't always hear from people on the spectrum, and that is problematic in itself too. And I also understand that autism is a spectrum, and you might not hear from someone who's nonverbal unless you listen to words that they type or another way that they communicate. But still, it's important to have different voices in that conversation.
We're smart, we're different, we're creative, we're problem solvers. We're not just this stereotype that you might see on TV of someone whose hands just don't stop moving, or that they're a STEM genius, or they're the next Bill Gates. I'm standing here right now. I am a woman. I am a lawyer. I'm not a STEM genius, and I'm also not 8 years old. So when we think about our autistic children and they do become adults, we need to think, how can we plan for everybody and how can we make the future better? Congratulations!
What's extraordinary, I think, about people with disabilities is how we adapt to a world that isn't designed for us, in a world that has odds stacked against us at every turn. And it's something that people with disabilities and autistic people do every day, as we get through certain barriers that exist in our path that the world doesn't think about. I think it's important that we tell our own stories so it isn't just inspiring other people, and that my story is not despite of disability. My story is because disability is a part of who I am.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you so much for being here today and taking time out of your very busy lives in order to be with us. Before beginning, I really do want to not only have that note of gratitude to start our day, but welcome each and every one of you, whether you're here in person or you're joining us virtually. I have the great privilege of getting to moderate and facilitate our lived experience panel, because even all these years later, one of the things I believe the most in is elevating the voices of autistic people whenever possible. To help us out with that, we have 5 amazing panelists who have joined us today to share their personal and professional journeys. We welcome Cece, Aislinn, Race, Jack, and Brian to share their experiences as individuals with autism. Self-advocacy has historically been an incredibly important part of civil rights for people with disabilities. Additionally, self-advocacy is often required to access appropriate services at the individual level. Our incredible panel members will talk about self-advocacy, from our youngest panelist, who is in junior high school, to our adult panelists through individualized support, self-determination, and person-centered planning. To help get us kicked off and started, we're going to briefly have our panelists introduce themselves before moving into more in-depth and deeper conversations with each and every one of you. So to kick us off, I don't know who wants to go first, but we're going to ask each of you to introduce yourself and share a little bit about your journey with autism. So in that, you can also share when you were diagnosed and how it's impacted you. I don't like being the person who picks on someone to start, but if not, then we will just go down the line. Is anyone ready to get us started and say hello to the wonderful folks joining us in person and online? Okay.
Is it on?
Are they on?
This one's off.
I can't tell.
No.
Yeah, I
It is, okay.
It's on.
So my name is Jack Pritz. I was diagnosed with autism when I was, I believe it was like when I was 5 or 6. And how it's really impacted me throughout, the course of my life is really just from, I've just had troubles with, talking to people when it, sorry, I'm a little nervous. I've just really been having troubles, having confidence in doing certain things when it comes to, like talking to people, making friends. I have made some friends, and I'm still friends with them to this day. A lot of them were made in like high school, junior high, and overall, I feel like it has been really difficult for me to it's really been difficult for me to, like I said, I'm sorry, I'm a little nervous right now. It's just been difficult for me to it's really been difficult for me to really understand like how it is that I work, and because I was told throughout my life that I wasn't going to be able to do certain things in life, and I just proved everybody wrong because thank you. And I'm just glad for all the people who have stuck there with me throughout, the course of my life, and for all the opportunities that were given to all the other kids that have autism that I wasn't able to experience back when I was first diagnosed, because it wasn't as well known back then. And like I said, I'm very glad for a lot of newer kids of this generation and generations even after me, and I'm just really glad for those kids, because they were able to, now that it's more understood and people now know what it is, and there's panels like this to help bring more awareness to it. I'm really glad for kids like that. And even though I wish I was fortunate enough to have that, like I said, it's more important to me that kids nowadays are able to have opportunities like this.
Thank you so much for sharing.
I want to go down the line. So I might just
We're just going to go down the line then, I think is probably the best way to do this. So
pass it. Too long. Don't want to keep you up.
Go. Okay. I'm just going to hold this. My name is Brian Peel. I am a lifelong resident of Normal, Illinois. And I am an ISU alum, and I am neurodivergent, and I currently work for State Farm. What Jack was saying about self-determination and self-discovery has really been a lifelong journey, and it's still in progress. And it's the fact that life is a journey, not a destination, is really something that you have to really keep on, because nothing is sacred in this world, obviously. And it's also an area that, we live and we adapt. And one of the things that hallmarks autism is actual change and just the thought of change. And I'm here to tell you that sometimes the thought of change can even be more nerve-wracking than the change itself. And just the thought of, oh, I'm going to not have this, or this might happen, or oh, this is going to happen, is really, it's just like, okay, you're tempted to push back against it, but the other part of you wants to move forward. And you need the advocates like my parents were, and they still live in this community, thankfully. And you really need the people believing in you that know your abilities and really can push for you to do things, because self-advocacy is a lifelong process, and it's something that I have to remind myself that other people can, need to do too, because this new generation of people, like Jack was saying, I'm very pleased that they have the resources now to be able to know and treat autism. But back when I was diagnosed, it was a little more than a whisper. And it was called something different, pervasive developmental disorder not otherwise specified, I think. Mm-hmm. And then ADHD is comorbid with that. So neurodivergence is a relatively still recent term, and it's something that we need to make our communities and people aware of. Plus, everything that is available resource-wise is important to a journey to academics, employment, independent living, all that stuff. And it's been really interesting to see how it evolves. I'm one never to give up, but I'm also one to take progress slowly. I'm not in a hurry to, do things that, other people like advancing up the, corporate ladder or anything like that. I'm not close to that, but I'm also realistic, and I will push for things that I know are right, but I want to be certain that something is absolutely right before I do it. Of course, we live and learn, but that's it. So really, that's, in a nutshell, my journey with autism, and it's a work in progress. So thank you.
Hi, my name is Aislinn Bossard, and I work at Hy-Vee, and I'm in the HALO program out at Heartland, and I was diagnosed in kindergarten, and sometimes it takes me longer to understand things.
Hi, I'm Cece Garrison. I'm 12 years old, and I believe I was diagnosed at the age of 8 years old with autism. Some ways that it impacted my life is it's really hard for me to make eye contact with people that I don't know well. I try my hardest, but sometimes it's really hard. Another way, I am very big on sensory needs, like I need to fidget a lot, and like noises, some certain noises make me like just go crazy and I can't be in the room. And people get mad at me for that, and I really wish that people like know that I'm not trying to do this. It's just a part of me, and I really hope people figure that out soon.
What's my time limit?
3 minutes.
Hello, guys. Ray Sappa here, and well, I'm the final panelist. So, first question is: when was I diagnosed? I was diagnosed at 2.5 years old. And in terms of my earlier life, I had zero comprehension of it. I mean, I don't care what anybody says, as a very young person, I was not smart. I thought that my house went into the stars when it was night. I was that dumb. How did people like me face bullying in school? For example, I ride a bus and it took me an hour there and back, and I was unfortunately harassed for 7 years on the bus until I was, driven to school, and I drove to school due to the pandemic. I play video games and I go online, and I have faced mild harassment, but actually, if you, and I've been called every name under the book, and before you guys say aw, I am fueled by it. I just laugh at them because, hey, if they're going to get mad at an autistic kiddo like me, I win. Thank you. And another question is, how do I operate off a loose schedule? Now, my time management is god-awful. I procrastinate, but if I know I have to get something done, I'll do it. For example, I'm a slacker. I play games, and I saw a bug in my apartment. One bug, and I ripped the entire thing up. Mopped, vacuumed, uncluttered. I mean, just 10 hours ripping everything up. 4 is what has helped me in my life? IEPs, parental support, and I have been supported by, of course, IEPs. So for example, I am allowed to type. I'm allowed to.
You only had to.
One question?
Yes, we're just introducing ourselves.
Oh, okay.
Oh my gosh, you're fine.
I'm a
Don't
talking
worry.
person, am I? Well, before I go,
You got excited. You were good. You were good, my friend. I think we all just got excited. So moving on to most of our questions are actually geared towards some of you just individually. So we're going to start with Brian. And Brian, we know that you started to touch on this earlier when you were introducing yourself and how important that self-advocacy journey has been for you. Can you tell us a little bit more about that self-advocacy journey and how that developed for you over time?
Well, actually, yes, Haley, it is, it's a journey that is ongoing, but I'll be honest, it was something I really hadn't done a whole lot of or known how to do until high school when I had a great advocate case manager that was sort of that for me, but also told me how to do it. And it came in the form of academic accommodations. It came from extended time on exams to separate exam areas translated into community college. I see Heartland is out there, alum. And it also came from realizing what did work and what didn't. And I'll be the first to tell you that self-advocacy for time management is a thing that is ongoing because time constraints are not something I am A, fan of, and B, do extremely well in. Now, you put me in a job that's going to be, manufacturing, quotas, things like that, it's not going to be X amount and X amount of time. I'm probably not going to do as well at that as something that is process-based, like what I do now, that it's basically you have to have everything, done by the end of the day. But it's really about not bending rules, but understanding that they're not absolute. And that's one of the things with autism that I've had to find out with self-advocacy is that, there's not a black and white way to do everything. And the journey with the self-discovery has been something that my parents pushed in me in elementary, and they pushed for full inclusion. They pushed me to see things, but it would have been things I hadn't known how to do if I hadn't been, pushed to be that way. But eventually with self-advocacy, you reach a point where no one's going to do it for you. Ultimately, you're going to have to do it, yourself. It's a big thing, but direction, guidance, and resources are the main thing, but the self-determination is, the intrinsic motivation is what really is going to help you to have. So I would say really just keep pushing on that, and don't be afraid to ask, speak out, resources, and also never give up if you really want something, and even if you don't know what it is you really want, still self-advocate. Sometimes you find that, the things that are best for you are the things you never thought of or didn't expect, So, yeah, that's my journey with self-advocacy.
kind of to dig a little bit deeper, my next question is for Jack. And my question for you is, what are some of those self-advocacy skills that you've developed throughout your experiences, especially with work and having a job? And can you share how some of those skills have helped you?
So I work at Schnucks, which is basically a grocery store very similar to Jewel Osco, Hy-Vee, and Kroger. And fortunately, at least at my Schnucks anyway, I don't know how obviously I don't know how the other Schnuckses deal with stuff like this, but they've been very accommodating for me. So that like if there's ever a time where like I need to step away, if things are getting too overwhelming for me, they'll let me step away, sit down for a couple minutes, or as long as I need to, of course, within reason. I think a lot of the reason why I think they are so accommodating like that is because there's a lot of people that work at that particular Schnucks that also are on the spectrum. So I think that's a really big reason as to why they're so accommodating. Well, at least with me. I don't know if anyone else is accommodated in that same way, but I'm very fortunate that they are very approachable when it comes to like what I need in order to make it through the day. But as for how I get to and from work, I use the Personal Connect Transit bus. You know, I have to, if you don't know what that is, it's like for people with disabilities, and you have to like call within a certain amount of time so that way they can get you scheduled to go to and from wherever it is that you need to go. I didn't even know about that until actually one of my other coworkers who also is on the spectrum told me about it, because before then I usually had either my dad, my mom, or my grandma take me to and from work. And I think I'm very glad that this sort of transportation exists for people with disabilities, because, well, first of all, it saves my mom, dad, and grandma a lot of time because they're on their own busy schedules and may not be able to take me to work and wherever I need to go all the time. But and like how I was saying before when I was introducing myself, how I think that it's really cool that a lot of kids with autism are given a lot more attention, and like it's given, I think it's the same thing here with having transportations. Like all these, there's so many things just with autism now that things are accommodated for kids with autism, and I just really wish that a lot of that, like this transportation system, were given to kids when I was growing up. But again, it's more important to me that kids now have stuff like that. So, thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing. And self-advocacy looks different in so many different situations, which is why my next question is for Cece about how you have self-advocated in school, and if you can share an example of that.
So one of the examples is not about me, but it was in a situation that I was in, and I don't do well in like situations, like hard situations, but at school there was a hard time where someone on the spectrum was like having a breakdown because something happened, and the teachers were kind of just getting all mad, and I felt really bad. So I told them, they're probably on the spectrum, you need to give them a break. And I just feel like teachers, yes, they do understand that, but I feel like they need to understand it more by giving them a break. Like, just kind of get away, maybe ask them if they need a break or something, because they do need a break maybe. And it's really hard for them to go throughout school and not feel like you're not safe or something like that. And I wish teachers knew that. I didn't have that written down.
That's actually super helpful, since I think so many times teachers don't know what we know as people who have lived it, and your empathy is really incredible. So thank you for sharing. Now, kind of to switch gears a little bit, my next question is for Aislinn, and you are also working at a grocery store, you mentioned earlier, and being a cashier involves a lot of different tasks. You have to scan items, handle money, talk with customers, and sometimes you have to answer all their questions. If you ask me, that sounds extremely overwhelming. So since it is overwhelming for you as well, what strategies have helped you manage all of those different tasks? And when that does feel overwhelming, how do you advocate for what you need?
I just try to keep a positive attitude and ask for help when I need it. Like, I've been there for 7 or 8 years. April this year is, so I talk to my managers and they let me step away when I need it, and they're very helpful to me.
I'm a big fan of all these very accommodating workplaces, so big shout out to our workplaces that are doing the work and making things more accessible and inclusive. And kind of to go back to school, my next question is for Race about, you mentioned as well that you have faced bullying before, and can you share how you've learned to advocate for yourself in those situations and what support really helped you?
First of all, apologies for overextending that, but to give you some more context, again, I went to Eureka High School, middle school, elementary. I've been a big fan of D140. Of course, I did go on the bus for 7 years, and there were these people in the back that would always harass me. I have actually even tried to do like a whole, we apologize to each other, we drop it 2 times without success. And, that is one story. But some of the things I even said was ridiculously inappropriate. I will never forget some of the things I did. But you know what? I'm actually not that upset because, one of them got busted. Oof. And one of them got in a car crash. Not a bad one. They were looking at somebody flipping someone off and they rear-ended. But anyway, back on topic. So, again, as I also told you, I also play games and we have voice chat. There's people who can talk to me. I've been called, again, every name in the book. You think of any slur, any horrible word, I've been called it. I'm like, lol, mad. And honestly, here's my biggest thing, right? Is that words, speech, it's all words. They're just sonic waves. They can't hurt you unless it's like ultrasonic or something like that. But you know what? It's how do I even explain it? I just don't get mad because you know what? I'm like, you know what? Hate all you want because you know what? I'll go my way. I'll do my own thing. I know I'm doing something that obviously you don't agree with, and guess what? It's too bad. Anyway, thank you. Next person.
You have handled those situations better than so many other people probably will. So more power to you, because people on the internet, especially in gaming, can be really weird.
Oh, yeah. Yikes. Ugh.
Yeah.
So kind of to switch it a little bit, since I know even through gaming, I've made friends before too, so that's also been pretty cool. But my next question for Cece is about what's helped you feel comfortable and supported when you're meeting new people or making friends.
Well, I really like being in a quiet environment. That way I can concentrate on what they're saying, and I'm not trying to listen in on other people's conversations, because to be honest, I kind of do that sometimes.
Me too.
But it's also so I can give them my full attention, and in those situations, I want to make eye contact with them so they know that I'm listening. Yeah, I'm talking.
That's awesome. I still struggle to make eye contact with people all the time, and I feel like they've just learned that sometimes it doesn't mean that I'm not listening. I'm listening, and just I can't seem to do it. Also, I get distracted a lot. So, Aislinn, you faced some really big challenges. You are balancing work, school, and just life. And can you share how you've learned to manage that stress or anxiety, or what's helped you keep moving forward even during those hard times? I know that having a busy schedule is just a lot for anybody, but I know being on the spectrum, it could just feel like that much more.
Yeah. I've learned to sometimes I need to step away until my emotions are under control. Then I can go back and go back to what I was doing.
And kind of building off that, you mentioned that stress and anxiety and those big feelings. So my next question for Jack is that we all do experience those big feelings like frustration, sadness, or anxiety. And being autistic, those feelings can sometimes feel almost amplified, that we feel things deeply around here. I know that's something I've noticed over the years, that autistic people tend to feel very deeply. And can you share how you've managed to kind of support yourself and what strategies you've used for managing those big emotions and what has been most helpful for you?
So I should start by saying that a lot of my frustration, sadness, and anxiety, a lot of that actually comes from me having so much empathy for people, but more importantly, because of that amount of empathy, it's the fear of not only failing, but whether it's disappointing those people or making them upset or doing things that they don't like, but it's also a fear of losing those people too. And I guess a good example would be if you've ever seen the movie Revenge of the Sith, how Anakin Skywalker experiences basically the same thing. He lived his life entirely based on fear of losing people that he cared about, and I think that's, I mean, of course, that's a fictional sci-fi movie, and this is real life, but that's really where a lot of my frustration comes from, and I think ways that I've learned to cope with it, because the thing is, you're never really going to, those things are always going to stay with you, especially if you've been feeling those emotions for so long like I have. So I don't really find ways to get rid of it. I find ways to kind of keep it in control, whether it's, you know, if I read something online that absolutely sends me into, like, you know, some kind of frenzy, I go and will text one of my friends, I'll text my mom, my dad, I'll just text them and just let everything out and how I'm feeling, because, I don't want to make a drastic decision to say something to the wrong person, because, that leaves a mark not only on, that person, but it will leave a mark on your reputation and how other people think of you, and that's something that you don't want people to think of you that way. So I just, like I said, I don't go after people that are like upsetting me, or because, again, that would not be good. So I usually just go and vent to people that I know are going to understand and are going to listen, and I don't do it to people that if I don't think the person is going to understand where I'm coming from, I don't go to that person, because it's not their fault. It's just they don't understand like some other people may understand. So it's really helped me a lot in dealing with things that are frustrating me or making me sad or just making me anxious to the point where I literally can't let it go until I know that it is, until I know that everything's going to be okay. Yeah.
Something that's come up on this panel a little bit as well is this idea of executive functioning. So things like time management, staying organized, all these different things. So that's a struggle for many of us on the spectrum. And my next question for Race is, how do you navigate your time between work, your hobbies, and being in school?
Well, for example, I would almost consider myself a very heavily time-oriented person, maybe a little bit too oriented. For example, like I'll say, it takes 15 minutes to get to this from point A to point B, but like 2, traffic, somebody wants to jaywalk across the street, yuck. And then it's like, yeah, I always say, factor in all these things. But in terms of like organization, I'm very, very loose in terms of that. I know I'm supposed to be on work, and I have been late. The last time I was late to work was a couple of days ago, and I was late by 3 seconds. I get there like up to 15 minutes early, and I do not accept being late. Maybe it's you know, maybe it's, you know, maybe pushing myself around, but no, it's real world, I guess. And for school, like, I get up at like certain times. Of course, I have an alarm clock, and I'll go and eat at Monocle's, be like, hey, I have to leave by 12:45 to get back to Heartland, you know, yada yada. But for example, when I get late on homework, which I kind of do sometimes, I get it done as fast as I can. I do procrastinate, but I try not to do it, and that is an issue with me. And yeah, thanks for listening. Next.
Absolutely.
I love this one.
The procrastination thing is so real. I feel like what has happened, at least for me, is I just am like, oh, I perform well under pressure. And then I just feel like I can't seem to get the thing done. So that is very, very real. And I appreciate you sharing that. So we're talking about kind of balancing all this stuff in life. And my next question for Cece is, can you share a little bit more about your involvement in extracurricular clubs and activities? Because it seems like you're also doing a lot.
So, like I said, I'm 12 years old, and I've been doing ballet since I was 2. So for 10 years, ballet is like my life. I love ballet. It comes first. But also with ballet, there's like my ballet group, there's a lot of girls in it that I feel like are family, and I make eye contact with them every single time. Like, they feel like they're just like in my family. They feel like sisters to me, even the teachers do, and I'm super glad that I get to be with them. But I'm also knowing that once I go to college, I cannot be with them anymore, so I'm just trying to take in all the time that I possibly can before I'm going into college.
That is very cool. And my next question for Brian is, what advice would you give others on the spectrum who are pursuing education or employment after high school?
Glad you asked that. Well, I got to keep this relevant and all that, but the best thing I can tell you is, first of all, disclose your diagnosis, especially after high school and employment, whatnot. That's one of the things that's most difficult, is when they are let loose from that structured environment that they've been in for, 12, 13 years, that they step out into the realm of the unknown, and when you're on the spectrum, it's even that much more nerve-wracking. So have the right advocates, you know, work with people, work with agencies. First of all, Lifelong Access is here. I am a board member on my final year, but I will also tell you that they've been helpful, phenomenal in helping me to develop to the point to where I am now with my job at State Farm, but also have the resources and have parental units advocate for you, but also advocate for yourself, because it's going to be that much more important with you know, getting ahead in not only school work, but in life in general, and you want make people understand where you're coming from, and you don't need to give them a long explanation. You can just say, well, I'm neurodivergent. Sometimes I take things to the nth degree. I misunderstand things, but also never give up, because it's a journey. It really is. And find hobbies you enjoy. I do music. I do theater. I do the board, and I do singing and whatnot. But also find that work-life balance, and don't be afraid to say no sometimes. Don't be afraid to say yes. Find that in between. That silver lining is the toughest thing to find, because we're very literal thinkers. But definitely have the right people on your side, and never give up something that you really want. If you just want to develop, that's another thing. But make sure that you don't always have to know exactly what you want. Life is a journey, as I've said time and time again, but keep at it, because you just never know what awaits around the corner. Thanks.
Each of you shared a little bit about your support systems, whether that is your family, your your workplace, or even just people that you've interacted with through different activities and passions, whether it's board service or in ballet or playing games or just people you know and who care about you. That is something that's really important that we've talked about and have learned is about our support systems and how they help people reach their goals. And I do have a question for the whole panel before we eventually go to wrap up, is can you share what things were the most helpful for each of you? Maybe just really quick as like a lightning round of something that was extremely helpful with your strategies, supports, or your support system that helped you the most. For whoever wants to answer first.
Oh, you want to do it?
Sure. So my family and coworkers and teachers have encouraged me to try new things. Yeah.
Short and sweet. That's really cool. Basically, there's always basically with the support systems, keep on you. You might go back and forth on what it is you want and don't want, but if you really want to go for something, go for it regardless. Too often there's that fear of failure, or there's that fear of okay, but what if I get this? Then I'll be missing that. Okay, then I'll do this kind of thing. But you don't grow in a comfort zone. You grow when things are challenging enough, but you ask yourself time and time again, well, why does it have to be so hard? Why? And somebody say, well, that's life. Well, I get that, but it's also the support systems that you have make a difference, can all for the better or not. And my parents have still been phenomenal in that regard. And in adulthood, it's something that it's been an area of self-discovery that is really something that the journey can take you places you've never been. So that's what's been most helpful to me, and I'd encourage anybody else to do the same.
So, as I've mentioned, a big part of one of my biggest support systems has been my mom, or just my parents, my grandma, my aunt, and friends. But overall, I think when it comes to support systems, no one is really going to know yourself better than you, and you need to. A lot of those support systems, like family and friends, aren't going to be there forever, and a lot of times you are going to need to make your own decisions. You're going to need to figure out what you need, not what other people think that you need. And that's been a big struggle for me too, is seeking validation from other people and really being more focused on what they think I should do rather than what I think I should do. And that is something I've really been working on with myself as well. And because, so for example, like, I tend, with my anxiety, there will be times where I'll be like, just say there's like something like I could collect action figures. So let's say there's an action figure that, to me personally, may not like function the way I think it's supposed to. So I'll go up to like my mom or my dad and ask like, is there something wrong with this? Like, and when really they're not going to know as much about what that action figure is supposed to do other than the person who owns it. So, and that's a really weird example, but it's the best thing I can really think of. But because again, you are going to know what benefits you the most. Those people like your mom, your dad, they're going to be there to help you, but they're not going to be there to magically make everything better, So you really got to take that initiative.
And as for me, my parents, my grandparents, my teachers, and if you want to know what supported me really heavily at like the government level, at the Illinois Department of Recreational Services or the Illinois Department of Health and Human Services, I believe, that's also what is really, really helpful, and I'm very grateful for this opportunity I have been given. I honestly there's just no words I can say to just know how much I'm thankful for. Also, another thankful thing, I want to have a shout out to Nikki over there, and I don't know where she is, but Jackie, same birthday. They have helped me a lot when I was growing up, and I'd also like to extend my thank you to everybody who has, again, from my parents to again, friends back there. Thank you.
So at the beginning, I did say that I hate some certain noises, and my parents have given me ideas of taking a break or going to get a fidget, just to try to use that to take my mind off of it, or we play music during when that happens, and it's really helpful, and it has gotten better, but sometimes it still isn't working.
Okay, we have one more question. I am trying as hard as we can to keep us on schedule, and I know that it probably is getting in the way of everybody's break, but our final question to send us out on a positive note here as well is to make sure that we each have something to share with our audience and can share something that each of you is most proud of about yourself, or that one thing that makes you exactly who you are. This should be pretty quick, but I'm super excited to know more about that thing that you're most proud of, to every one of our panelists.
So I'm actually going to go first this time. I think the one thing that I am most proud of about myself and is really just the fact that how I mentioned before, how I have naturally have a lot of empathy for other people, but even really going further than that, I really just think that, the thing that really makes me who I am is that the first thing, whenever I first look at a person, whether I know them or not, the first thing that comes to my mind is seeing the good in them. I never really, it's never the first thing where I just go up to somebody and randomly think, oh, that person's a jerk, or that person is this or that. Because that's if you're going by life just looking at random people and just thinking negative thoughts about them, you're not going to grow up to be a person that is has goodness in them and themselves. And so yeah, I always, and I guess that could also be a weakness too, because it also would also mean that I could see someone who's just bad and then I will judge them for that. But I guess another thing that Nikki has suggested to me is I like to do voices. Can you do one for us? I can do Smeagol from, if you guys know who that is, from Lord of the Rings.
Stupid fat hobbitses. We wants it, we needs it. Why you takes it from us, takes it off of us.
Whoa.
Wow, you need to be a voice actor. That's awesome.
And I can also do Venom too, if you want me to do Venom from Spider-Man.
Extremely cool.
That is awesome.
We're going to heal everyone. We're not a thing. We are Venom.
Dude, you need to go into voice acting. I can't do that.
So yeah, as you can tell, I really do good voices, and my dad is constantly telling me, you got to get an agent or something.
You do.
So yeah, I guess that's something you could definitely say is really unique to me, because especially after the feedback I got from that. So. Want to go?
Yeah, or just go that line.
Well, first of all, there is a voice acting class at Community Ed at Heartland, so if you're interested in that, I took that. Basically, there's so many things, but the one thing that I am very pleased about myself is the perseverance that I've never given up, even if I've incubated for a period. And what I mean by incubated is kind of been in limbo, like, okay, do I want that? Do I not? You know, that kind of thing. Or when you got to do it, you got to do it. It was the same thing with the job thing for so long. I did 2 jobs. You know, I did retail, I did Jewel Osco, I did hotel work and laundry work, but persevered in knowing that, okay, well, you know, what about the other side? What about, you know, a better work-life balance? So perseverance is the main thing. But, you know, if there's one thing that I would say to take with you as far as being on the spectrum or being a caregiver or knowing somebody who is understand what it is they want and need. And be realistic, but be optimistic, as hard as it can be. My main thing is to not only never give up, but also realize what you know, you're up against, and it's a lifelong journey. And there's no manual, of course, on how to do it. It's a lot of everything. I mean, not just your unwritten rules, not just your day-to-day stuff, but it's the main lessons. And sometimes you have to internalize so much. And sometimes you just, you know, have to accept that some things are not meant to be, and then also that some things are, and you can find joy in the things you didn't think of or at least expected. So I say perseverance is something to be proud of.
Absolutely. I love doing my sport, or I love sports and being with my teammates, and I do sports through Special Olympics, through SOAR, which is all the way back there with Holly. And so I'm involved in basketball, volleyball, softball, soccer, tennis has started this year, so I'm involved in a lot of sports with them.
So I'm really good at math. I'm really proud of my math grades. They are really good. Plus, it's also my favorite subject. And I am proud to be that person in the group who is different by loving math other than any other subjects.
I don't like math.
Well, I'm proud of myself for a lot of reasons. Like, for example, I told you when I was very little, wasn't that smart, and now I can tell you how to calculate decay chains, predict tornado warnings within half an hour in advance, interpret advanced models, and all that stuff. I've grown a lot of my knowledge, especially in gaming and one of my favorite hobbies, which is numismatics, which is coin collecting, cash collecting. And I've also gotten really, really smart in sciences, especially meteorology, which I hope to pursue, because one day I hopefully will aid the green energy transition by being a wind turbine technician. But again, my favorite hobbies is, of course, numismatics, and my collection has swollen to $8,000. And I love wheat pennies, and I'm very close to possibly literally taking champagne and claiming almost every bit of the supply chain in pennies. I'm not joking. Very close, but anyway, I don't want to intrude on your break, but if I have to say something, stay happy. Have a nice one. And I actually want to say thank you to everybody who came out here. And by the way, it is very well appreciated that you all did this. To know that all you people cared makes me happy. Have a nice break. Thank you for coming. And check out TKP in the parking lot to our west.
I think you might be able to speak for all of us that we're all extremely grateful for our audience, but I want to say thank you to each of you for sharing your vulnerabilities, your experiences, and it is brave to get up here and talk about yourself to a room of hundreds of people and not even know how many of you are online as well. So let's just give a huge thank you to our panelists. We appreciate you. We are grateful for you and can't wait to see what you will do next. And with that, it is up to me to pass it back to send you off to break time.
Again, let's give them a big round of applause. I ditto everything that Haley just said. Okay, we are about 10 minutes late moving into our break. We will transition into that break. We do have the Sensory Museum outside. If anybody wants to walk across the street, it will be here over lunch and then again at our half-hour breakout session in the afternoon, so not everybody rush at one time. We have a little bit of time to navigate through the exhibitors. We will also transition to our to our breakout sessions. The breakout sessions are limited to, I think, 75, 80 people in each room. There will be a counter, and if we are at capacity, we're not going to have standing room only because almost every session is repeated. So there will be multiple opportunities for you to go to a different session. So if you happen to be a person who does not get in, just know you can come back. In addition, every single session is recorded. You will have access to the recording so you can watch a session that you were not physically in. So with that, transition to the exhibits and then a breakout session, and we'll see everybody back here around lunchtime.